So we have talked for many years about open space, and slowly we've seen signs where the property is preserved, something else is preserved, there's a park, this is getting added in. Tonight we want to look at the whole picture. We're going to do it in stages. We will begin by looking at, first of all, the outline of the township so you actually get your bearings. And I'll point out a few landmarks and some of the roadways and things so that you're able to focus on exactly where we are. So let's start with the outline of Worcester Township. I have Scott here working the technology piece. I'll do the talking, but Scott's the man on the technology. If I were doing that, we'd be probably in the Amazon. All right, so let's turn it around. And what you're seeing, it's going to move up a little bit, is the outline of Worcester Township. Now, to get your bearings, it's pretty easy. Most people can guess this line is the northeast extension of the turnpike. On the other side of the township, over here, there's one big spot just outside of the township. Anyone venture a guess on what that might be? The quarry, Gill's Quarry, right there in East Norton. And we'll zoom in a little bit so you get a handle on what that quarry looks like from the heavens. And then, of course, right here, you have Township Line Road coming up. And let's pick a few of the other roads. There's Trooper Road. Here's Valley Forge Road up here, heading up. And let's get to Skippack Pike. Skippack Pike should be right in here. Get your bearings. There's all of Skippack Pike. And let's see. Try for Germantown Pike, Scott. If we'll move over there, get to Germantown Pike. There we are. Here's Germantown Pike. And again, the township, the boundaries obviously are just a little bit beyond Germantown Pike. There's the Racket Club in Fairview Village, and just beyond the Racket Club is where you move into Lower Providence Township. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to start with preserved farms. Worcester began as a rural community, and we thought the best place to start is by highlighting the preserved farms. And I'll run to each one of them and explain what it is so that you have an idea. And I'm going to actually start over here. Now, when we did this, we shaded in the areas. The boundaries may not be exactly precise. This line might be a little further over, a few feet or something. So if you're into absolute precision, this isn't it, but it gives you a really good approximation. And what you're looking at here, this is Murray Brook Road, and this is Mill Road, and this is the Markle Farm. Years ago, it used to be the Markley Farm, actually, when Dick Markley owned it at one point. But that's the Markle Farm, and that is a preserved farm in Worcester. Adjoining that, you have two parcels that belong to John Harris and his wife. And they're both preserved pieces. There's one little house in here. For those of you who are old enough to remember the old road when it used to go through and it did that sharp 90-degree turn and the other 90-degree turns in there. And then you get up here to the bridge that's closed and you can't get across. I haven't been able to get across it in probably 30 years. But there's some preserved farms. And what's really cool, one of the things I'll point out to your attention as we go through this tonight is look at the fact that properties that are adjacent to each other are preserved, because that gives us opportunities down the road when we look at what we can do with preserved farms. So let's look at some of the other ones. Let's move over here. Now remember, this is Valley Forge Road, and what you'll see right here is the Graham Farm. On both sides of Valley Forge Road, at open field on Township Line, Valley Forge, Graham Farm there, And then it moves over to, this is still the Graham Farm as well. And then you've got the McGrain Farm in here, also preserved. And then there's the Scherenbeck Farm, which is preserved, and it takes you down to Hollow Road. And then over here you get to Willow Creek, or once upon a time the old Hebner Farm, or parts of the old Hebner Farm. And that Hebner Farm is on both sides of Hebner Road. This is Hebner Road cutting down here. And that open field that you see when you either go up or go down Hebner Road, that's all preserved land. Again, going back to what I had said earlier, when you start looking at contiguous parcels being preserved, looking 50 or 100 years into the future, this sets up a lot of potential for trails and paths and other options. While we're in this general area, we're going to jump over here, and I'll get you on the right road here. Right here, we come off of Valley Forge onto Pot Shop. We come down Pot Shop to that sharp 90-degree turn. And this is the Gambone Farm with the horses you can buy now, and there's a sale sign on it. But the Gambone Farm is a preserved farm, and parts of that lie on both sides of Pot Shop Road. Okay? Then, jumping further over, I'm going over here, and I want to make sure I get this right. Oh, okay. I know which this is. This is the Smith Farm.
Gwyn Meadows.
It's what?
Gwyn Meadows.
Oh, Gwyn Meadows. I'm sorry. Smith's over here. I was looking for the Schweikwater Church and couldn't find it. It's Gwyn Meadows, the horse farm there that backs up to Murraymead over here. Now, Gwyn Meadows is preserved, obviously. Murraymead is not. And there's Valley Forge Road. Up here, it's Fisher Road. Come down Fisher Road, and you get to the Smith Farm, Ollie Smith's farm, and two of his children are here tonight. I saw Sue, and I saw Carol. Cindy, I'm sorry. Sue and Cindy are here. And then we have one more farm up here on Wences Church Road, and that's the Couchet Farm. It's broken up into different parcels and different pieces because there's a house in here, and I don't know what's here, what it is. Well, it's part of that's the power line coming up there too. But the Couchet Farm is there, and then of course there's a development back in here. So they're the preserved farms in Worcester. Now what we're going to do, we're going to let them up there, but we're going to add in property that is preserved by Worcester Township. Parkland and things, anything that's in Worcester Township. And we have that highlighted in blue, as you can see. We changed the colors on these so you can come back and see that the gold are the farms. And if you remember roughly where you live and which farm I pointed out, now you'll have some more points of reference here. One of the gems in Worcester that most people don't realize it's in Worcester is a park right back here in the very corner of Worcester, Fisher's Park, often claimed by Talmenson as their park. And part of Fisher's Park is in Talmenson, but a major part of it lies in Worcester. This is Bustard Road that I have the red dot on right now. So, Fisher's Park. Jumping down, all right, let's go this way, Scott. Let's come down here. The big park in Worcester is Hebner Park. And then along with Hebner Park, you have the Zacharias Trail, also owned by the township. The Zacharias Trail comes down, comes all the way over here, and then ultimately the plan for hopefully in the near future will be for the Zacharias Trail to connect into the Evansburg Trail. They're talking about getting it done this year. I'm still holding my breath. But it will happen. I'm confident it will happen. But again, when you look at how much of this is contiguous, and we come back to preserved farms, remember this is Willow Creek here, right adjacent to the Zacharias Trail. Okay, up here at the corner, right here, we're on 73 and Valley Forge Road. We have Valley Green, a little shopping center there, and then there's Valley Green on the corner. And Valley Green comes down and it comes out even towards Skipback Pike, right across from, trying to think of the name of the road. Shearer, that's it. But Valley Green is another potential trail thing in there. And you know, they built a bridge a year or so, maybe it's longer than that, across the Skipback right in here. In addition to that, let's move down here. We have what's called Worcester Woods. And this is on Whitehall Road. Now, you can look here and see that was once a golf course. But here's Whitehall Road. It comes down, and then it too takes a sharp turn and then another sharp turn. And this big piece of ground in the back, and it goes all the way out to Skipback Pike, is Worcester Woods. This property here, a gentleman had purchased it, and they're in the process of restoring the house, and there was a quarry, small quarry in there at one point. So they're doing a lot of work in there to try to preserve that and restore it, but it's not preserved land, but this is. Up here, there's a little park on North Wales Road. Some people know it's there, and other people in other parts of the township don't know. It's Sunnybrook Park. This is Sunnybrook Estates, and then we have Sunnybrook Park here. It's used primarily, I guess, by the residents of Sunnybrook Estates. And then we have over here off of Bethel Road, there's a road that cuts in. This road is called, not hidden, Deep Meadow Lane, Deep Meadow Road. And this group of this open space and this open space along the turnpike here is all that Deep Meadow of Woods. Okay. Let's move it up, Scott, so that we've gotten through that part of the township. I want to move over. We did Worcester Woods. We have another little parcel here. This is where you take your recycling for your trees and your shrubbery and your yard waste. And this is Nike Park, right there on Trooper Road. A little small pocket type park. It's not a place where you're probably going to go to have a picnic or anything, but it is a nice place it makes it pretty convenient. And if you look at the aerial view of the township, it's pretty centrally located as a drop-off for recycling trees, tree clippings and branches and things like that. Okay, let's move down a little further. See if we can find any other blue here. Now we're in Fairview Village. And this is Heiser Field. Right behind the township building, which is here, we've got Heiser Field, which is where our horse shows are held, and a lot of other events. There are flea markets and things like that are held there. Over here, we have Mount Kirk Park, Mount Kirk Avenue Park. And that's two parcels make up Mount Kirk Avenue Park. So as you're looking at the whole township now, you're getting an idea where we've taken the yellow, the gold, and that's the farms. And now we've added in township parks. And so now we're going to layer in something else. Scott? Go ahead.
Comment.
Technology takes a little time sometimes.
There it is, the green.
All right, now we've laid in some green. What is the green? Green is the land trust. Anything that's preserved as land through the land trust or the Heritage Conservancy is part of that. I'll start up here. And this is, what's the name of it? I do know. Moran. It's the Moran Trail. And the Moran Trail, what's cool about the Moran Trail is it backs up to some of the preserved farms here. For access, you can come in off, there's a little parking area up in here, and you can go in and park your car there, right there on Grange Avenue, and from there you can walk back and go through the trail and stuff. So another neat feature of that. So moving over here, we're back on Valley Forge Road, and all of you have driven by and you've seen the signs for the land trust, basically the preservation of the DeLauro Preserve, Frank DeLauro Preserve here. And another beautiful, beautiful property. It's called Long Lane Farm, and you go back their driveway. The driveway is probably here, and it comes back, and the house sits way, way back here. In the wintertime, you can actually see the house from Water Street Road here. But another huge preservation thing. Now think about what I said earlier about trying to get parcels that are in close proximity to each other and preserved. We've got the preserved farms here. Now, the thing about the preserved farm, some people think because it's open space, you should be able to just go out and walk on it. Well, there are a lot of reasons for open space, and recreation is definitely one of them. And trails are some of them, as we have here the Moran Trail, and the Zacharias Creek Trail. It's nice that we have that. But the farms, many of the farms still have animals, livestock. They have crops planted. So typically the farms are not something you go and walk on. The DeLauro Preserve is not one you can just go and walk on at this point. I'm sure that with the widening of Valley Forge Road, there are plans here for a walking path along here. I know that from the sketches that I have seen. So moving over, let's see, up here we have the Markle properties. The main house is still back here somewhere, but Markle's ground is preserved up here. Now remember, we're on Skipback Pike. For a point of reference, this is Green Hill Road coming in off of Skipback Pike. Then we cross over the Zacharias Creek down in here where this trail is. So on both sides, this old farm in here, this is the Markle property. And while I'm at it, you've heard over the years some controversy about a few lots up in the Zacharias Creek Trail lots, the 3 lots that Worcester, Friends of Worcester has argued should be permanently preserved. They're right in here. It's shown as part of the township land. But some people don't even know where they are, and I'm just pointing it out as we go. We've talked about Valley Green, we've talked about Fishers. Let's go down here. We did those. Oh, I know, we didn't talk about the Haynes property. Down here, Cindy Haynes Farm. It's a small farm at this point. It was once a huge farm. But this much has also been preserved through the Conservancy. So, I'm not sure, is that, Scott, can you tell me which trust that's?
Heritage Conservancy.
Heritage Conservancy, okay. All right, did we hit all of the green? No, I know we didn't. We have big pieces up here. We have the Gerstemeyer property. Now let me get you back into perspective. This is Gwynn Meadows Farm. This is Schultz Road cutting in. And again, you'll see this in Worcester. You come down and you have a sharp turn, and then another sharp turn, and another sharp turn as we head down Schultz Road. There is an old farm in here, and again, it backs up to Gwynn Meadows. This is Gerstemeyer, and this is Schlotter's farm, too, and it's 2 parcels there. That is also preserved through the land trust. And I know there's another one yet here. Yep. Over here, now let's get down onto Burke's Road here. This is Burke's Road, and you'll notice there's the power line coming through. This is Alan Meyer's property, and that is also preserved through the land trust. So now you're getting a better picture of the township as you see these huge parcels that are preserved and some of the connectivity that's occurring too as we build it out. Okay, I think that's all of the land trust properties. So many of you may be aware that the township has a program and a plan to preserve more ground. The township has set up a goal of preserving 300 acres by the year 2033. When they set that goal just a few years ago, it seemed like a distant future, but already it's 2025. So we have 8 more years, and so far they've preserved about 51 acres. But they're moving in the right direction, and that's very encouraging to us. Let's start, we have those in red, and this is the Fisher Road property. There's 40 acres there on the Fisher Road. Again, not too far from Fisher Park. Here's Fisher Road going right down here. You keep going down Fisher Road and get to the Smith property. If we come down, let's go down to the next one would be the Dutchy Church, Scott. It's only an acre, but it's still preserved right here on Valley Forge Road. Little Dutchy Church, and there's a cemetery behind it. Not much space for parking and things, so some work needs to be done on connectivity here to get folks to be able to go from the Dutchy Church, ideally, over to Heidner Park. And then we still have one more that's Scott up in Fairview. And look at this. Here's Heiser Field, and right across the street on Griffith Road and Valley Forge Road, the township has preserved 10 acres there. Again, filling in that idea of where possible, let's connect parcels, let's create opportunities, not just for now, but for the future too. Okay, let's see, next color will be purple. I'll start up here. We have some state lands. This is Evansburg State Park lands that are in Worcester Township. So I'm up here, this is Grange Avenue, and it's probably not that curved, but it's just the curvature that we're getting from in here. But this piece of ground is adjacent to the Moran property. And again, a little more continuous there. We have parcels here along Grange Avenue, and then another parcel here. This is actually Green Hill Road right here. And if you look, this is the Worcester Golf Course. And this is, years ago, was the Rothenberger Farm. In fact, back in the 1950s and 60s, this was probably the most picturesque farm in Worcester Township. When Mamie Rothenberger was, I believe, the recorder of deeds at the county level. It was a beautiful, beautiful dairy farm here. And it was just absolutely picturesque. The barns are all gone, the cattle's gone, but it's part of Evansburg Park now. All right, but we have other parts of the township too. This is state-owned. We have another piece over here. It is county-owned. Now I'm on Skipback Pike. And anybody venture a guess on what this is? Peter Wentz. Peter Wentz, and right adjacent to Peter Wentz, we have Gwynn Meadows, and then we have the Gerstmeyer property and the other property over here, Slotters. And then, when I look at connectivity here is Valley Green Park as well. And then we still have one more, and that is down here. I'm down on Burks Road now, and this is the old Nike base. This is the site where the Nike missiles were and the military base. Perched high on the hill outside of Philadelphia. And it was, back in the day, it was there to protect Philadelphia in case of an attack. So that is in the process. Ultimately, I believe the township will end up buying that. And if we get the Nike base, and you have Alan Myers' property, the Nike base, and our farm in this close proximity, things begin to come together. and you create the option for trails, and the real idea is connectivity. Now, as more recent development occurred, thinking changed. Scott, I'm going to ask you to just shoot us over to, I don't mean to pick on them, but I'm going to shoot over here to East Norton Township for contrast. Now, East Norton Township is laid out and was developed, a lot of it was developed in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And it's just houses upon houses upon houses. The thinking changed as we moved into the 90s and beyond. And Worcester has some of the more, I'll call it, enlightened thinking. What you're seeing here in this different shade of yellow is homeowner associations. And when they develop land that's in a homeowner association, they were required to preserve a certain amount as open space. So we're going to take a look at each one of them here. Over here, along the turnpike, and I'm down on North Wales Road, we saw that this was Sunnybrook Park, and this is Sunnybrook Estates back in here. And it's pretty heavily developed. But in exchange for all that intense development, the township said, yeah, you have to set aside some ground for open space. And in their wisdom, I don't know who did it at the time, but they made sure that the houses were set back from the main road, North Wales Road here. So as you drive around North Wales Road, you may see homes back here, but you don't get the idea of how dense this population is because it's protected visually. And it's protected even along the turnpike here. This band of gold is part of that original property. And then there are two other parcels up here that were part of the original property as well, that are also homeowner association maintained open space. Much more recently, in fact it's still going on, this is the Bellflower development on Skipback Pike. One entrance off of Skipback Pike, and then back in here, they're clustering the homes and they're creating a perimeter of open space around all of those homes. Down here, you have Center Square, or not Center Square, Center Square is the golf course. I get these two mixed up all the time. It seems like in my mind they should be reversed. Center Square is this way and Worcester's that way, but this is the preserve at Worcester and this is the reserve at Center Square. So again, if you've never driven in here, it's worth a drive just to see how this land has been preserved. When you come in off of Skipback Pike, there's open fields out front. When you drive in, even this space in the middle is a preserve, it's like a playing field for the kids, and the houses are here and here. And then it tapers down and the road goes back, but there's open space in here. So you get that, we're in the country open field, and you can come back in here and you'll see some more homes clustered around. There's another field here, but there are large swaths of open space, and the road then curves around, and you've got the same thing here. They clustered some houses in here. These people aren't sitting on top of each other. Yes, those houses are built on smaller lots, the big homes on small lots, but they have preserved a lot of open space. If you're here on North Wales Road, you have no idea how many homes are built in here. It's just incredible. A lot of thought went into it versus taking a piece of ground over in a neighboring township and carving as many possible lots as you could without any thought about open space, potential for trails and things. We've heard a lot in recent years about the golf course and the development of the golf course, and most of us were sickened when that happened. But as you take the aerial view here and look at it, they've also preserved open space. Now, we've got to give it a little while till some of the trees fill in again and things. But if you look, right here's Skipback Pike. If you're driving along Skipback Pike, these houses don't sit right on the road. You're going to get landscaping and greenery in here. You're going to get the same thing in here. actually, this is Applewood up here. Yeah, that's Applewood. But again, all of this is Birch Road right here. You've got a whole buffer between neighboring properties. And I know that, yes, they took down a lot of trees and they changed the lay of the land and things here. But again, they have made allowances for open space. And it's not just, let's slap as many houses in there as we possibly can. All right, let's move down a little further, Scott. Okay, let's move down to this. Now I'm on North Wales Road, coming out to along the edge of the township, and here's Township Line Road. There's an open, it's an overgrown field here right now. There was a lot of controversy there about what was going to be built there. Unfortunately, nothing, so far nothing. But this is Stony Creek. And if you drive down North Wales Road, you have no idea how many homes are built in here in Stony Creek. It's a well-planned, well-thought-out development. They've got walking trails internally. You can access, there's a driveway that comes in off of Township Line here. But again, it gives you the idea of preserving open space, clustering the houses so that we can have this, but creating ultimately those viewscapes that we look for in open space. Right up here, now I'm on Whitehall Road, and notice there's even a piece of this that cuts through to Whitehall Road. And when we go back to that idea of connectivity, this is Gambone had this horse farm, and over the years Gambone had bought this farm. Years and years ago, it was the Loudon farm here. Georgie Loudon owned that. But they took that part and they developed it into Whitehall Estates. So there's two entrances really to Whitehall Estates. There's this one, and homes are clustered here, and then there's another entrance here, and the homes are clustered up in here too. And actually there's a spot in the middle here where you can drive around and kids have a playing field there. This is another house, another property. But this connectivity really strikes you when you get this visual of the potential for having a trail here. Not there now, but it could be in the future. Okay? Go ahead, Scott. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, over here. The Kump Farm. Kump Farm is on Trooper Road. A little more up, Scott, so we can see it, because I want to get all the way up to Woodland Avenue here. And the Kump Farm is now called the Stables. And the old farm, here's Trooper Road running right along here. The old farmhouse stood in here somewhere. The farmhouse and the barn were knocked down. They built one house out here. And you drive back, and then there's a loop up in here, and the homes are clustered up in here. And in fact, there's even a piece of ground that extends out to Valley Forge Road. Again, thinking about the potential for connecting things. Not today, not tomorrow, maybe not even next year or the next 10 years. But the potential is going to be there by having this homeowner preserved and maintained open space here. So, let's see. I think that's all of them. That's pretty much the newer developments. Yep, that about does it. That's all the places. I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you might have. But I also want you to just take a minute and study it. We can zero in if you want to see where your house is. We can do that too, to let you know. But the idea of looking at all of the properties that are preserved, the land that is preserved in Worcester, I don't have a number on it for you. We didn't get the time to do all that. It's pretty tedious to get all that. But you know, we can do it when we talk about this 300 acres by 3033. We know that's 51 acres. But all of this other land, contrast that with the neighboring townships. And I'm not picking on any one township. You can look there, and you could look out here too for a lot of intense development. The other thing I'll call to your attention is, if we look at our roadways, even along the turnpike. Drive the turnpike. In Worcester, there's land that's preserved right here along the northeast extension. Drive up the turnpike if you head up to Allentown, and they built houses backed up almost to the turnpike. You'll drive up there and you'll see properties with, their deck or something just overlooking the northeast extension of the turnpike. Bring me along Skippack Pike here, Scott. Go along there again. And just coming up Skippack Pike, we've got land here that's preserved, land here that's preserved, land here that's preserved. We have the old golf course. We have Applewood Estates is tucked back in here, and you've got O&F Farm over here. You've got further up, you have Valley Green, you've got Peter Wentz. So the township has almost tried to make a conscious effort to create some, not only connectivity, but some greenery and open spaces along the major roads. If we take Valley Forge Road, we come down Valley Forge Road, you've got Valley Green, and then you've got Heidner Park, the Dutchy Church, and then you have there's the Laurels. This is Graham's, drawing a blank. And then you even have this piece coming out from the stables here too. And then further down Valley Forge Road, when we talk about those scenic vistas and things, I mean, right here along Valley Forge Road and just behind the community hall there. So the township seems to be making a concerted effort. As I was working on this yesterday and preparing it, I said, it's interesting. If I had the power in the township to determine where should we get more open space, as I looked at it and looked at connectivity, I began looking here saying, if we could connect Heidner Park to this, I'm not sure the Bryants are ready to sell their place, but just think about that. If you could go from Evansburg Park up here, remember this is where Evansburg Park and the trail is going to be, from Evansburg Park over here, along the Zacharias Trail, up through Heidner Park, cut through here to get over to Valley Green, and then you can walk over to Peter Wentz, and Peter Wentz, there's parking, you can start there and go the other way. And then you have these other preserved properties, Gwynn Meadows and the Gerstmeyer and Slaughter farms, they're over there. I mean, a lot going there, and it's only a hop, skip, and jump here till you connect into some of this other land that's preserved in here, the Alan Myers properties. So, I was just looking at it going, okay, let's try and put this puzzle together and make it work a little better. So, just my own thinking, it's no one else's but mine. I'd be looking at this place to try to preserve that. But there are other opportunities, and there are opportunities for trails. I mean, when you look at Fisher's Park back here, and this farm on Fisher's Road, but they're still talking about what's going to happen. Fisher Road is lightly traveled. It's pretty easy to create pathways, I'm sure, to connect the two of these at some point. With some vision and some forethought, we can look at getting things like that. And I'm sure there are a lot of other properties in the township. It's also noted, it's interesting to note, as you, let's move it out a little further, Scott. I want to show just the newer developments in the township of these homeowner association pieces. It tends to be clustered. We don't see much of that up here. You see a little bit over toward Fairview when you get to the stables. There's the stables property. But it's more the stables and some of this newer development, the newer thinking there. So, anything you want us to zero in on? I'll take questions, I'll take comments. But I think it's neat to just be able to sit back, look at the township, and get some idea of how much land is already preserved and how much potentially could still be preserved. I mean, there's a huge, Mike Evans's farm is in here. It's got 125 acres sitting in here.
That's what I was going to ask you. What are the potential opportunities? And you mentioned Evans, so that is a big property.
It's a huge property. There's another huge property down here on the township line, and if we zoom in a little more, the Allen property down here is huge. Let's see, I need to get on right here. It's on the corner. Indian Harmon Tube sits over here. There's a little parking lot, but the Allen property, the big farm here that adjoins the Gambones, our farm, and adjoin these other parcels. So I mean, there are still opportunities. There's a big parcel there. Up in here, you have the tree farm. Chambers' tree farm is up in here still. There's another piece of ground up in here that is currently for sale, a big piece that goes between Pot Shop and Trooper Road. The thing is, as we all know, ground is not getting cheaper. And with each passing year, the price tags on these properties go up and up and up. But the township has a goal. Will they make the goal? I don't know, but I'm very pleased that they have had the foresight and they've listened to the residents and said, yes, open space is important to us. When you talk to folks about why they bought their property in Worcester or why they moved to Worcester, many of them will tell you it's because of the open space. And open space can be for recreation, as you have heavy emphasis here in Heidner Park. But the open space can be these farms, the scenic views, the vistas, and the beauty that the township has maintained of trying to keep things open. Like even here along Valley Forge Road, you have, I want to go right about here, you've got the Variety Club here. Another huge property, and granted it's being used, but it's not being developed into a housing development, things like that. And it's being used for recreation, it's being used for education, it's being used for instruction, and it's being used for a group of kids that definitely need those types of services. And we're fortunate to have that here in Worcester. Yes?
Another question. So on Friedel Mill Road and Heidner Road, there's a large, expensive property. A lot of times there's a for rent sign for the house that's right back off the road. Any thoughts or ideas about that property?
Let me see. Let me go down there. I want to come down Heidner Road, Scott. This is Heidner. And I'm coming down Heidner, and then it's going to dead end here on Friedel Mill. And Pete is talking probably about this property.
Right. It's next to Asher's. Basically.
Yes, Asher's is back in here, and the golf course is over here. The front is on, the front. This is Heidner dead ends right there at Friedel Mill.
And there's two long driveways.
There's a very long driveway here. And there's another long driveway in here. There's a few places. I don't know who currently owns those or what the plans are for any of that property. I see some hands up. Are you looking for me to point something out?
I just wanted to mention, we're using the word preserve for a lot of stuff. I know, for instance, that the farms that have been preserved that's true, they are required to name farms. In other words, they were, the development is not. Oh.
Go ahead. I'm going to just repeat what you're saying, unless you want to use the mics?
Okay. Sold and supported by, I don't know which ag department, Pennsylvania or whatever. But in other words, they have to remain a working farm.
Right. what she's saying is, if it's a preserved farm, these preserved farms need to remain in perpetuity as a preserved farm. Now, as a working farm. What's going to happen 100 years from now? None of us in this room are going to be here. And we know what the intent is. We know what the expectation is. We know what we want to see, that these places remain as working farms. But some enlightened individual 100 years from now may decide, I could put a trail along here, I could do this, I could do that. I don't know. The bottom line is, the land has been preserved. Think about this. Many, many years ago, think about Philadelphia. Fairmount Park. Someone had the vision when William Penn developed Philadelphia. He wanted that to be a green country town. And they had the vision to put in Fairmount Park. And right now, to this day, all of the parks that are, they've lumped a lot of their parks together and called it Fairmount Park. They have over 2,000 acres. Somebody had the vision of preserving that land in Philadelphia. When you think of Philadelphia, you don't jump right away to thinking of 2,000 acres of preserved land on both sides of the river down there. And what we're doing here is having a vision of what can be for the future. Fairmount Park, they began working on that as a park back in the mid-1800s. We began working on this, preserving lands and things. It hasn't been a long time, 50 years, 60 years, but it's an ongoing project. And again, with the township still having toward their goal another 250 acres, there is plenty of other land in here. It is as yet undeveloped. The other beauty of Worcester, for many, many years, even until today, if you build a single-family home, it's supposed to be on a 2-acre lot. And that goes back to the foresight of one of the supervisors in our township here many years ago, Russell Place. Russell Place didn't want this township developed. If you were going to develop it, you were going to have some land to take care of, and you were going to be able to have a few animals if you wanted in your yard or whatever. But he didn't talk about open space because that really wasn't thought of as a concept at that time. But he did look at how do we preserve this township and make it not look like Norristown 50 years or 60 years down the road. And what we're seeing now for the development that we do have in here, you see some really interesting places. There are many driveways and lanes that you can come into back here. I know that I've gone out and gone knocking on doors and things in election season, and I found lanes back here I didn't even know existed. There's one back in here somewhere, and these houses have long driveways. I mean, you get your exercise right up in here. There's one that cuts. What? No, it's not Salvador. I can't think of the name of the lane right now. It's right there it is. And Saddlewood, that's it. Saddlewood, that's it. But it goes back, and these houses have long driveways, and they're all on big lots. And then you come over, and you get up here onto Wences Church Road, and again, there are some incredible places and long driveways back in there. Just another thing, it's not preserved, but let's move out a little bit, Scott. I want to go over to Skipback Pike. All right, here's a landmark, Worcester Elementary School, so it's pretty easy to spot. Look at this. Meadowood, exactly. Have you ever driven in there to see how many houses are there? But when you're on Skipback Pike, you don't have a clue. When you're on Valley Forge Road, You don't have a clue, because a lot of thought was put into the placement. They have one access driveway essentially. They have a little service driveway over here, but the residents of Meadowood all come in off of this one driveway. It doesn't have the development that we saw in some of the other townships, where along the road there's a driveway and a driveway and a driveway and a driveway every 50 feet or every 75 feet. So again, a lot of thought has been put into Worcester, and a lot of thought, sometimes we as residents don't even recognize what the township supervisors and the leadership in the township has been looking at in putting all of this together over the years. And it's not just them, it's also the residents saying, you know what, I've got a property and maybe this land is preserved, and maybe I should be thinking about preserving my land as well. I saw a hand go up here.
Bert?
Pete, yeah.
So, Palmer, that's in the process of resolution, but could you kind of go through what the whole issue was for anybody that may not really be that familiar?
Okay. Here's the Palmer property, right on the corner of Skipback Pike and Valley Forge Road. Valley Forge Road, cutting out, there's the Schweinfelder Church. Beautiful piece of ground, 55 acres in here. Back in I may get the year wrong, but bear with me, so 2017 or 2018, the Palmer said, we want to sell this property. And what we want to do, we want to build townhouses on it. And we'll cut a road in, and we'll have another road coming in, and we'll build the townhouses back here. And by the way, we want to build, I think it was 87 townhomes. And we said, have you ever sat at this intersection in the morning or in the afternoon to try to get through it to go anywhere? Add in 87 more townhomes and figure at least one, but probably two cars per home. Another 160, almost 180 cars getting dumped onto these roadways. We said, we don't think we want that in Worcester. And eventually the supervisor said, no, that's not what we want there. And nobody has ever said what they want there, but then Palmer came back a few years later and said, well, you know what? We have a right to develop our property as we see fit. We want to sell it. So what we want to do now, we want to build things that Worcester doesn't have. We want to build a department store. We want to build commercial buildings. We want to build research facilities. We want to build athletic facilities. And what they did, they said, you know, we're going to file suit, and we're going to file suit to let this happen, because guess what, Worcester? You have exclusionary zoning, and you don't allow for those things. And for the last 3 years or more, the courts, the township, and residents of the township have battled. And Worcester, Friends of Worcester has, we can't say much because we're a 501c3, but what we do have is an arm that can do some lobbying, and that's the Worcester Advocates. And you've all read about the Worcester Advocates. They're a subsidiary of FOW, and they were working to raise funds for the legal defense of fighting the Palmer plan to develop all 55 acres with commercial hotels and all of these other facilities that they claimed were lacking in Worcester. Fortunately, the attorneys for the residents and the attorneys for the township got together, and they convinced the zoning hearing board that we do allow for all the things, just not there. That we have other places in the township that you can have a hotel. Visions of a hotel. A hotel does not have to be more than a few rooms. It doesn't have to be a huge multi-story facility. We've argued too that, you know, it doesn't fit with the character of the township. And back in the day when there was talk about putting townhomes back here, there was even a plan They thought this would make it attractive. They were going to make about 30 acres along here. Out in here was going to be dedicated to open space, which would have been nice, but we still would have had to have dealt with the traffic and all of the other issues that would come along with that type of intense development there. And the other part of it is there's about 7 acres out here on the front of the property that are zoned commercial. But the latest thing that the Palmers wanted was make the whole thing commercial. And if that were commercial, you have to think about hotels, traffic, sports facilities, traffic, research facilities, traffic, all at rush hour time, all coming out onto Skipback Pike or onto Valley Forge Road. Not a pretty sight. It's an expensive piece of property. Folks have said, wouldn't it be great, and it would be, wouldn't it be great if the township could buy it? But the price tag on that, and because of its prime location there, I think it's prohibitive for the township to buy it unless there's some benefactor who, we need an Elon Musk billionaire type to come in and say, yeah, that'd be a great idea. Let's make another park there. But that hasn't happened yet. So there's property. Another big property when we talk about land. The elephant in the room, Merrymead. And I'm bringing that up because we all love Merrymead. Probably most of us love Freddie Hill over here too. And Freddie Hill is closing the business the end of this season, the end of the summer. And Freddie Hill is zoned residential. It's zoned to, they could have 150 homes built on Freddie Hill Farms. That potential exists. And if that happens, how long do you think Merrymead is going to be able to stay in business? Merrymead has a lot of ground here, yes. But they have a huge number of cattle. And they have many parcels of land that they're farming in addition to this. Dragging farm equipment down Valley Forge Road or dragging it down Morris Road to wherever you have to go to farm the fields. And they do. They go down Morris Road right now, down near the turnpike, right where, not that whole, Burks Road cuts out. There's a corner there where they have a cornfield that they farm, along with many other properties around the township. And they need that ground in order to sustain the farm. So I think it's sad to think about it, but someday it's not going to be feasible for Merrymead to continue in farming if development continues. Not just in Worcester, but as the other areas. If we were jumping out here into Tellmenson still has some areas back here that are undeveloped. There's some few big farms back in this one corner of Tellmenson Township right here. But the rest of the township is pretty much thoroughly developed. It's an interesting topic. It's an interesting approach to see how one township has set aside land, made creating open space a priority. We, as residents of this township, inherited a beautiful township. And part of our responsibility and our obligation is to make sure that ensuing generations have a beautiful township in which to live. Not one that just looks like shopping center upon shopping center and development upon development upon development. And you can see from this, maybe not, you hadn't thought about it driving along, but you can see that the township is looking at how do we preserve these green spaces and chunks of green spaces. So kudos to what the township is doing. Yes?
Two questions. One of these, I think. Down Stumphall Road, is there no winery there? Is that open space and preserved?
Down Stumphall
Is that
Road.
part of Willow Creek? Is that?
Willow, yes, that's part of Willow Creek.
Last there, okay, gotcha.
Yep, there's
The
Willow
next-
Creek.
Next question is, I know Center Square, we lost back. There's a Worcester golf course, 9 holes, and then they had a hard time a few years back.
Right
Do
here.
you think that's gonna be a problem in future sort of development if that gets sold or?
It could be.
Yeah.
It's all developed. Here's the golf course in here. You can see the greens and things. And then along Green Hill Road, there are homes. There's a string of houses along here. But I can't say what the future holds there. I would hope that it doesn't get developed. I mean, it may not be your top-notch golf course. But you know what? It's a great place for especially young people to go out and learn the game of golf and practice. And as they improve their